The wind howled outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of our 18th floor apartment in Chicago, whipping against the glass like it was trying to break in. The Lake Michigan stretched out below a dark, restless void under the winter night sky. It was 2:13 a.m., and I, Liam Carson, was still hunched over my laptop at the kitchen island, fingers tapping away at code. At 35, I'd built a solid career as a senior systems engineer at CyberPeak, a cybersecurity firm where emergencies didn't respect sleep schedules. Tonight was no different. A server glitch had me debugging lines of encrypted data while the city slept. Naomi, my wife of 5 years, had always complained about nights like this. "You're married to your job, Liam," she'd say, her voice laced with that mix of frustration and loneliness. But tonight, she hadn't waited for me to come to bed. She'd left the apartment around 10 p.m., texting something vague about needing space to think. I figured it was another one of her moods, the kind that passed after a day or two. My phone buzzed on the counter, pulling me from the screen. It was her. The message lit up. "You don't need to know who I'm with. We're on a break. Don't call me. I'll reach out if I want to." No explanation, no sign-off. Just those words hanging there like a sudden drop in the code-clean final and utterly breaking the flow. I stared at the screen, the glow reflecting in my eyes. My heart didn't race. It just tightened, a quiet compression in my chest. Naomi and I had met in college, bonded over late-night study sessions and dreams of a stable life. We'd built this, the apartment, the routines, the shared accounts, on trust. Or so I thought. But this wasn't a break. It was a betrayal spelled out in pixels at 2 a.m. I didn't scream. I didn't smash the phone. I didn't even dial her number. Instead, I sat there in the silence, the cursor on my laptop blinking like a patient heartbeat. And in that moment, clarity hit me, not heartbreak, but something colder, more structured. I remembered Clause 12 in our prenuptial agreement. In the event of infidelity or extramarital involvement by either party, all shared financial rights and assets shall be forfeited by the offending party. Naomi had laughed when we signed it, her pen swirling dramatically. "Just paperwork, babe. We love each other. Who needs this? I'd signed because I trusted her." Now that clause wasn't just ink on paper, it was her undoing triggered by her own words. She thought she was pulling the strings with that message. But she just handed me the evidence I needed. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the kitchen floor. I woke up at my usual 6:30 a.m., the alarm on my phone beeping softly. For a moment I lay there staring at the ceiling, events of the night replaying in my mind like a bad script. Naomi's message still sat unread in my notifications, but I didn't need to look at it again. It was etched there permanent. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, feeling the cool hardwood under my feet, and headed to the kitchen. Routine was my anchor. I ground fresh beans, poured water into the coffee maker, and watched the dark liquid drip into the pot. The aroma filled the air, grounding me in the familiar. While it brewed, I grabbed the newspaper from the doorstep, old habit in a digital world, and scanned the headlines. Stocks up, weather cold, nothing new. But inside, everything had shifted. I wasn't the hurt husband anymore, reeling from a late-night bombshell. No, I was Liam Carson, the engineer who fixed broken systems in this marriage. It was just another glitch to debug. Our 5 years together hadn't been a fairy tale, but I'd believed in us. We met at a tech conference in Boston, her a marketing consultant with a sharp wit and a laugh that could light up a room. Me, the quiet coder who preferred algorithms to small talk. We built a life here in Chicago, this apartment, with its stunning view of the lake, weekend brunches at trendy spots in Wicker Park, plans for a family someday. I worked long hours at CyberPeak, climbing from junior dev to senior engineer, handling crises that kept corporations safe from hackers. Naomi supported me at first, but lately she'd changed. More nights out with friends. Complaints about my boring routine, a growing distance I chalked up to stress from her freelance gigs. Now I saw it for what it was, dissatisfaction breeding betrayal. I poured the coffee black and strong and sat at the island with my laptop. First things first, secure the assets. Logging into our joint bank accounts, I transferred my personal savings earnings from bonuses and side projects into a separate account I'd set up years ago for emergencies. It wasn't paranoia, it was prudence. Next, I revoked Naomi's access to the shared credit cards and investment portfolios. A few clicks, and it was done. Clean, efficient, like patching a vulnerability in code. Then the lawyer. I dialed Marcus Hale, the attorney who drafted our prenup. He picked up on the second ring, his voice gravelly from years in courtrooms. "Liam, early for you. Everything okay?" "Not exactly," I said, keeping my tone even. "I need to meet. Today, if possible, it's about the prenup clause 12. There was a pause, then understanding. "Infidelity. You have proof." "Working on it. Can you squeeze me in this afternoon?" 2 p.m. sharp. Bring what you have." I hung up, feeling the first stir of resolve, but proof that was key. I couldn't rely on a vague text alone. Opening a secure browser, I searched for private investigators specializing in marital disputes. Greyhound Risk Management popped up first, discreet, tech-savvy with a track record in Chicago's high society circles. Their site boasted, "Digital footprints don't lie." Perfect. I filled out the intake form, attaching Naomi's message as preliminary evidence, and requested a rush on surveillance. Within an hour, an agent named Reyes called back. "Mr. Carson, we've reviewed your submission. Timeline. Immediate. She's out now, said she needed space. I suspect involvement with someone from her gym circle." "Understood. We'll deploy assets, phone pings, credit traces, public cams. Expect initial report in 24 hours. Retainers wired." I confirmed the transfer, and that was it. No drama, just process. The day dragged on. I forced myself through work emails, debugging a firewall breach for a client, but my mind kept drifting to Naomi. What was she doing right now? Laughing with him, whoever him was. Planning her next move, assuming I'd crumble. She didn't know me as well as she thought. I'd always been the planner, the one who anticipated failures in systems before they happened. By noon, Reyes emailed preliminary hits. Naomi's credit card showed a charge at a boutique hotel in Lincoln Park last night, room for 2. No names, but the timestamp matched her exit. I forwarded it to Marcus. At 2 p.m., I walked into Marcus's office downtown, the city bustling below like nothing had changed. He greeted me with a firm handshake, no pity in his eyes, just business. "Show me what you've got." I laid it out, the text, the hotel charge, the prenup clause. "She's admitting to being with someone. That's infidelity, right?" "Potentially, but we need concrete evidence, photos, witnesses to make it ironclad. Your PI on it." "Yes. Report tomorrow." "Good. In the meantime, we'll prep the filing. Once we have proof, we invoke Clause 12. She forfeits claims on joint assets, your business equity, the apartment. You'll walk away clean." I nodded, the weight lifting slightly. "And the divorce. Fast track if uncontested, but if she fights..." "She won't have much to fight with." We spent the next hour outlining steps, freeze joint accounts, already done changelocks I'd handle that evening, and prepare for service of papers. By the time I left, the sun was dipping low, painting the skyline orange. Back home, I cooked a simple dinner, pasta, nothing fancy, and ate alone at the island. The apartment felt emptier, without her laugh echoing off the walls, but it was a relief too. No more pretending. At 8 p.m., Reyes's full report landed in my encrypted inbox. Attachments, photos from hotel security cams showing Naomi entering, arm in arm with a man tall-muscled smirking. Derek Wolf, the gym buddy she'd introduced at a party months ago. A fashion stylist and personal trainer according to his LinkedIn. More GPS data from the car still in my name, tracing her to his apartment in Wrigleyville multiple times over the past month. Credit slips for dinners, wine patterns of deceit. I saved it all to a folder labeled Freedom. No anger surged, just confirmation. Naomi thought her break gave her control, but I'd already rewritten the script. As night fell, I changed the door code and emailed Marcus. Proof secured. Proceed. She'd wake up to a new reality soon, and I'd sleep soundly for the first time in weeks. 3 days passed in a blur of routine and quiet anticipation. I threw myself into work at CyberPeak, leading a team through a major vulnerability audit for a Fortune 500 client. Meetings, code reviews, late-night simulations. It all kept my mind sharp-focused. But underneath, I was waiting. Marcus had assured me the papers would be served soon, and with the evidence from Greyhound locked in, there was no turning back. On the morning of the third day, my phone stayed silent. No calls from Naomi, no frantic texts. I'd blocked her number after that first message, routing everything through Marcus. It was a calculated move, let her feel the void she'd created. Instead, updates came via email from Reyes at Greyhound. More photos trickled in Naomi and Derek at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park, her hand on his arm. A late-night Uber trace from his place back toward our neighborhood, but stopping short. Patterns emerged. This wasn't a one-off fling. It had been building for months right under my nose. I didn't feel rage. Engineers like me deal in facts, not fury. Each piece of evidence was just another data point confirming what her text had implied. By afternoon, Marcus called. "Papers are ready. We'll serve her today. You sure about no direct contact?" "Positive," I said. Let the process handle it. He emailed me a copy of the filing petition for dissolution of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences, with an addendum invoking Clause 12. Attached were the hotel photos, credit statements, GPS logs, all time-stamped irrefutable. The joint assets were frozen, her access revoked. She'd get the minimum stipend outlined in the prenup, enough for basics, but nothing more. My business equity in CyberPeak. The apartment lease in my name, my personal investments, all protected. That evening, as I microwaved leftovers and sat alone in the living room, the first sign came a notification from the building's security app. Naomi at the lobby buzzing the intercom. I watched the feed on my phone, her face flushed, hair disheveled, pounding the button. No audio, but her lips moved in what looked like my name. I didn't respond. The doorman, per my instructions, denied entry. "Code's changed, ma'am. Mr. Carson's orders." She left after 10 minutes, shoulders slumped, dragging a small bag. I poured a glass of scotch and reviewed the divorce docs again. Clean, precise, like a well-architected firewall. The next morning, Marcus forwarded her response, an email to his office, frantic and pleading. "This can't be right. It's just a break. I didn't mean..." "Please tell Liam to call me. We can talk this out." Attached was a screenshot of her bank app. Access denied, balance frozen at 0 for the joint account. Marcus replied, "On my behalf, proceedings are underway. Evidence of infidelity triggers Clause 12. Attend the preliminary hearing or risk default judgment." She showed up at his office 2 days later. I got the recap from him afterward. No drama in his voice, just facts. Naomi arrived alone, dressed in yoga pants and a hoodie, eyes red from lack of sleep. She demanded to see me, but Marcus shut it down. "Mr. Carson isn't here. This is about the filing." He laid out the evidence on the conference table, printed photos of her and Derek at the hotel arm in arm. Timestamps matching her space nights. Credit charges for dinners a spa day, all on the joint card. "This constitutes infidelity under the prenup," he said. "You forfeit rights to shared assets," Naomi tried to argue. "It's not what it looks like. Derek's just a friend, we were talking. Liam's overreacting." But her voice cracked the denial thin. Marcus pushed the docs forward. "The apartment premarital, my name only, my CyberPeak shares vested post-wedding, but classified separate the investments from my bonuses. The joint savings split minimally. Her share barely covered a month's rent in Chicago." She signed the acknowledgement forms with shaking hands, no fight left. "Tell him I'm sorry," she whispered as she left. Marcus didn't promise anything. I changed the locks that afternoon, A locksmith buzzing through the door in under an hour. While he worked, I packed her things, clothes, jewelry, the designer bag she'd accumulated into neat boxes labeled and stacked by the entry. No malice, just efficiency. The apartment felt lighter already, the view of the lake clearer without the weight of unspoken tensions. By evening, she returned security feed again. This time, the doorman let her up with a temp code I'd provided. I wasn't home. I'd stepped out for a walk along the lakeshore path, needing the cold air to clear my head. When I got back, the boxes were gone. She'd left a note on the counter. "Liam, please, call me. This is a mistake." I crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. Derek Reyes's follow-up report confirmed what I'd suspected: radio silence from him. Naomi's text to his number went unread. His social media showed him at events alone, no trace of her. He'd ghosted, sensing the fallout. Typical guys like him thrived on thrill, not consequences. As the week ended, the preliminary hearing loomed. Naomi had no lawyer yet, per Marcus probably scrambling for funds. I slept soundly that night, the city lights flickering outside like distant code running smoothly. She thought her message gave her power, the right to dictate terms. But in invoking that break, she'd handed me the key to end it on mine. And now she was the one left in the dark. Naomi vanished from my radar after that evening at the apartment boxes in tow. I didn't track her. Reyes from Greyhound offered, but I declined. Enough evidence, time to move forward. The preliminary hearing was set for 2 weeks later, and Marcus kept me updated. She'd hired a budget lawyer from some downtown firm, probably scraping together funds from freelance gigs or family. No contest on the facts, he said. Clause 12 was airtight. In those days, I reclaimed the space. I rearranged the furniture, donated some of her forgotten knickknacks to charity, and even repainted the bedroom a neutral gray, erasing the vibrant blue she'd chosen years ago. Work at CyberPeak ramped up. I led a project on quantum-resistant encryption, bearing myself in algorithms that made sense unlike the chaos of a crumbling marriage. Nights were quieter now, the Lakeview a companion rather than a reminder. Marcus forwarded sporadic updates on her status. She'd moved into a small studio in the suburbs Evanston, from what credit traces showed. Cheap rent, basic amenities. No more lakefront luxury. Her attempts to reach me escalated voicemails to Marcus's office, pleading for a meeting. "Tell him it's not too late," one said. I listened to the transcript's voice flat. Too late, she'd set the timeline with that 2 a.m. text. Reyes's final report came in. Derek Wolfe had ghosted her completely. His phone number disconnected, social media scrubbed of any mutual tags. A quick LinkedIn check I did it myself showed he'd relocated to California, Los Angeles, opening a boutique fitness studio with investor backing. Typical opportunist, he'd sensed the fallout and bailed. Naomi's messages to him, pulled from carrier logs we'd subpoenaed, went unanswered. "Where are you? We need to talk." Desperation in pixels. One stormy night in February, the security app pinged again. Rain lashed the windows as I watched the feed. Naomi outside the building, soaked, no umbrella. She paced the lobby for 20 minutes, arguing with the doorman before slipping something into the mailbox. I retrieved it later, a handwritten note on crumpled paper. "I'm sorry, Liam. I didn't realize what I'd lose until it's gone. Not asking for the past back, just one chance to see you, to say goodbye properly." Her words stirred something, not pity, but a faint echo of the woman I'd married, the one who'd laugh at my bad jokes during late-night coding sessions. But that version was gone, overwritten by choices. I debated, responding fingers hovering over the keyboard. In the end, I unblocked her number temporarily and sent, "Not necessary, I've had enough," then blocked again. Finality in 5 words. The hearing arrived on a crisp Monday. I sat in the courtroom, suit-pressed, expression neutral. Naomi entered late, flanked by her lawyer, a harried man in an ill-fitting blazer. She looked diminished, dark circles under her eyes. Clothes rumpled, no trace of the confident woman who texted her break. Our eyes met briefly, hers pleaded, mine steady. She mouthed, Liam, but I looked away. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, called order. Marcus presented first the petition, the prenup clause 12, highlighted. Evidence of infidelity, he said, sliding forward the packet, photos, timestamps, logs. Hotel stays, repeated meetings with a third-party financial traces, all post-text admission. Naomi's lawyer stammered objections. Circumstantial. No direct proof of intimacy. But the judge waved it off. The text implies involvement. Combined with visuals, it's sufficient under the agreement. Naomi took the stand briefly, voice trembling. It was a mistake. We were just talking. Liam, please. The judge interrupted. Address the court, Mrs. Carson. Naomi deflated, admitting the meetings but denying more. Too late. The clause didn't require video proof, just reasonable evidence of extramarital involvement. Judgment came, swift divorce. Granted, clause 12 enforced. Naomi retained her personal belongings, freelance earnings, and a nominal settlement $5,000 per the prenup's minimum. No alimony, no share in my assets. The apartment my equity, the savings, all mine. She signed the final papers with a shaking hand, tears streaking her cheeks. As we rose, she approached. Liam. Wait. Marcus stepped between us. No contact per the order. I left without a word, the courtroom door clicking shut behind me. Outside, the city air hit fresh, unburdened. Naomi emerged. Minutes later, I glimpsed her from my car across the street. She stood on the steps, clutching the documents, face pale. Then she walked away alone into the crowd. That was the last I saw of her. No more notes, no appeals. The process had worked clean, irrevocable. She'd walked into this thinking a break was her call. But in the end, it broke her illusions, leaving her with nothing but the consequences, and me free to rebuild one secure line at a time. A year had slipped by since the hearing, the seasons cycling through Chicago's brutal winters and humid summers like lines of code executing without error. I stood at the edge of a crowded conference hall in New York, the Spring Tech Summit wrapping up with applause echoing off the high ceilings. At 36 now, I just inked a major expansion deal for CyberPeak, opening a new branch in Silicon Valley, partnering with venture firms hungry for our quantum encryption tech. The handshake with the lead investor felt solid, a far cry from the shaky nights a year ago. My life had settled into a rhythm I hadn't known I needed. The apartment by the lake remained my base, but I'd added touches that made it mine a home office with dual monitors, books on cryptography stacked high, even a small gym setup in the spare room, no more gym buddies to worry about. Dating I dipped in casually, a few dinners with colleagues or matches from apps, but nothing serious. Trust rebuilt slowly like patching a breached network, one layer at a time. CyberPeak thrived under my lead. I'd been promoted to director overseeing a team of 20. The company name I'd floated in jest during a board meeting stuck 1213 Solutions, a subsidiary for custom security protocols. When asked about the odd moniker, I'd smile and say, a milestone. One night, one message, one wake-up call. No one pried further. They saw the results. As for Naomi, fragments reached me through mutual channels I hadn't fully severed. She was working at a small furniture store in the suburbs, Evanston, stocking shelves and handling customer queries about sofas and lamps. No more freelance marketing gigs. The divorce stigma and lack of references had narrowed her options. Social media. She'd gone dark, profiles deleted or private, friends we'd shared drifted. The ones who knew the story sided quietly with facts over drama. I heard she lived simply now, a one-bedroom rental, public transit to work evenings, alone with takeout and TV. No Derek in the picture. His L.A. venture had fizzled last I checked via a quick search, but that chapter was closed for her long before. Once a former mutual friend mentioned running into her at a coffee shop. She looked tired, they said, asked about you, but I kept it vague. I didn't dwell. Regret wasn't my code. But one rainy afternoon, back in Chicago, walking along the lakeshore path, I paused at a bench we'd shared early in our marriage. Memories flickered her head on my shoulder, planning futures that never compiled. No bitterness lingered, just lessons compiled into wisdom. She thought that 2 a.m. text gave her control a pause button on our life. But it had been her exit command executing the prenup safeguards I'd once dismissed as formality. In the end, her break broke her illusions of power, leaving her to rebuild from scratch. Me, I'd emerged stronger systems, fortified. Sometimes silence isn't absence, it's strategy. Not responding wasn't weakness, it was the cleanest cut. I learned that betrayal doesn't just end a relationship, it reveals the flaws in its foundation. And closure. It comes not from confrontation, but from walking away debugged and upgraded. As I left the summit that day, the New York skyline buzzing with possibility, I knew one thing: I'd never look back. Life's too short for faulty connections.